All right, class, today we are going to continue doing the guided practice problems for week 3. Yesterday, we did number 1, we did number 2, and we also went over, get this out the way, we also did number 3, okay? If you need to see how we did those, you can go back and watch the video from yesterday. Last night I wanted you to do, or yesterday evening I wanted you to do number 4 and number 5. I'm going to go through number 4 and number 5 with you, and then I'm going to see if you can do number 7 before we leave class. Go through number 7, and then I want you to finish 6 and 8 for on your own. Okay. All right. So let's do this. So now we're looking at number 4. Does anybody think that they have this right before I get started? I'm going to pause the video to see. All right, so let's see. I'm going to read the problem. We're going to set it up and then solve it to see if you got this right on your own. It says there are 13 animals in the barn. Some are chickens and some are pigs. There are 40 legs in all. How many, this is the question, how many of each are there? Okay, so we read it and we identified what the question is right here. So now we need to decide what our unknowns are. Okay, I know that they're not giving me a slope and a y-intercept or a starting amount. So I already know from that I am going to be writing an equation in standard form. Okay, all right. So my standard form is ax plus by equals c. Ms. Reyes, well, how do you know that you're going to be writing this equation in standard form? Because nowhere did they tell me a rate, and nowhere did they tell me a starting amount. So that's how I know I'm going to be writing equations in standard form. Here is going to represent the totals. Okay, but let's back up a little bit and let's talk about what's missing, my unknowns. The question says how many of each? Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about chickens and we're talking about pigs. Okay, so since chickens came first, my x is going to equal the number of chickens. Okay, remember it's how many, so that's why I said the number of chickens, because that's how many chickens there are. And then the second thing they talk about is pigs. So my y is going to equal the number of pigs. Okay? Any questions about how I decide what my x and my y are going to be? Any questions there? Okay? Let me know if you have questions. Do not be ashamed, okay? Please ask them all. Big or small, ask them all. And remember, the video only records my voice. It does not record your voices, okay? Except for if you're in the classroom. All right? Okay, so now that we have declared our x and our y, now we need to focus on writing the equations. We know that our equation is going to be written in standard form because they didn't give me a slope and they didn't give me a y-intercept. So now let's pick out what the totals are. The first sentence tells us that there are 13 animals in the barn. That's a total. Okay, there are 13 animals all together. And I'm going to put what total this is so I'll know what to add together. 13 animals. So I'm going to add animals together. My other total says that there are 40 legs in all. So out of all the animals, there are 40 legs. And I'm going to put what that is so I'll know what to add together to get 40 legs. All right, so now I need to figure out how do I get 13 animals? Well, I get 13 animals because I have to add the chickens, the number of chickens together, plus the number of pigs. Well, since X represents the number of chickens and Y represents the number of pigs, to get the total number of 13, I'm going to say the number of chickens plus the number of pigs. So that's X plus Y is equal to 13. Any questions about how I got this first equation here? Okay, I need to see some faces to see. Are we okay? Austin, you okay, babe? Okay, good deal. Austin O, are you good? Okay, good. Maggie, what about you, baby? You okay with this? Okay, all right, good deal, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. Remember to stop me if you don't understand. Now we're talking about legs. Okay, think about it, y'all. How do I count the legs that's in the barn? How would I do that? If I got all these animals in the barn, what do I do to figure out how many legs there are? All right, that's very, very good. So how many legs do chickens have? Two. So you're right. You're gonna say 2x because you're gonna say two legs times the number of chickens that you have plus how many legs do pigs have? Four. Plus 4y because you're gonna say 4 legs times the number of pigs there are because each leg has 4 pigs. And this is your equation here. Any questions about how we did that? Okay. So now we have to decide what method we're going to use to solve this. Since I use the substitution method up here, okay, I'm going to use the elimination method for this one. Okay, I'm going to stay away from graphing because these numbers are rather large. Okay, and it's a little bit harder to graph. Okay, so we are going to use the not substitution method, the elimination method. Sorry, y'all. And just in case you forget, I'm going to go ahead and write that we're using the elimination method. All right, so I got to decide whether I'm eliminate the x's or the y's. I'm going to eliminate the x's. That means that this needs to be a 2x because this is a 2x, so I can eliminate by subtracting. What can I multiply times x to give me a 2x so that these are the same? 2. So I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So I'm going to multiply each of these terms by 2. So what I get is 2 times x is 2x. Then I get 2 times y is 2y. And I get 2 times 13, which is 26. And then I bring down or bring over that other equation. Any questions about how I did this so that I can eliminate my x's? Okay. Now, to eliminate the x's, I'm going to subtract. I'm going to use elimination of subtraction. I'm going to subtract. So when I subtract, my x's eliminate. When I subtract this, this is 2 minus 4. This is 2y minus 4y. That gives me a negative 2y. Okay. And then when I subtract, don't forget the order. That's so important here. That's 26 is first minus 40. So that gives me a negative 14. So I put negative 14 here. Okay. Now to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. When I divide this side by negative 2, this gives me a positive y. When I divide this side by negative 2, this gives me a positive 7. A negative times a negative is a positive. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So this is saying that there are 7, and y represent pigs. So there are 7 pigs. Okay. Any questions about how I got that? So now I need to figure out the value for x. How many chickens are there? So which equation do you feel like is going to be the easiest to substitute? The original first equation here or the second equation? Which equation do you want to use? The original first equation or the second equation? Yeah, that's what I think too. So we're going to go with that original first equation. X plus y is equal to 13. Okay. I'm going to substitute 7 in the place of y. So this gives me x plus 7 is equal to 13. I'm going to solve for x by getting rid of the positive 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. And what does that give me for x? X is equal to what here? X is equal to 6. Okay? So that means that you have 6 chickens. Any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to pause to make sure that you go back, right, check your work. Please make sure that you show your work so you get 100% credit, okay? Okay, so now let's look at number 5. Real quickly, type what you got for number 5 in the chat. Type what you have for number 5. And if you don't know, again, at this point, it is okay for this particular time for you to say IDK, okay? I'm going to pause for the calls. All right, so let's see if what you got is right. Let's do number 5. So first thing we need to do is read and identify what the question is, okay? So you like to watch movies at a local cinema, okay? You can have 2 payment options. So there are 2 payment options. Option A is to buy a discount card, which will cost $160 and then $20 per movie. So that's option A. Option B is to pay $40, period. That's all it says for option B. Then it says, after how many movies will the total cost of the 2 options be the same? So when is it going to be the same amount of movies for the same cost? Okay, when do the lines cross each other or intersect? So we're going to write 2 equations. Now in this example, we can clearly pick out some rates and we can clearly pick out some starting amounts. So in this particular problem, we are going to write our equations in slope-intercept form. Okay, we're going to write our equations in slope-intercept form. All right, so we have 2 options, option A and option B. Okay, reading option A again, you have to buy a discount card automatically. You have to pay for that discount card, which is $160. So that's going to be my starting amount. That's my y-intercept, $160, because I automatically have to pay for that discount card. Any questions about how I got my y-intercept or my starting amount? Now my slope for this is going to be $20 per movie. So after I pay for the discount card, then I can get $20 per movie. Okay? So when I write my equation again in slope-intercept form, because I could identify that they gave me a rate and they gave me a starting amount, I'm going to write an equation in y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form. I'm going to replace m with 20, so that's going to be 20x, and b with 160. Okay. Now I read option B. Option B is to pay $40 per movie, period. So they gave me a rate of $40 for every single movie. No discount pass, no starting amount whatsoever. That's it. So when I write my equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, that's just going to be y is equal to 40x. That's it. There's no y-intercept. There's no starting amount. So my system is going to be y is equal to 20x plus 160 for the first option. And then option B is going to be 40x. So these are my 2 equations. Any questions about how I came up with my 2 equations for this word problem? Okay. Now I have to choose what method I'm going to use to solve it, to figure out where the 2 equations cross each other. When is it going to be the same amount? Remember my slope? Again, if I read it, is money per movie or cost per movie. My X represents the number of movies, and my Y represents the total cost. Okay. So in order to figure out what X and Y is, I have to choose a method. I'm not going to do graphing because I'm doing this pencil and paper. And look at my starting amount will be 160. I'm not going to go all the way up 160 and graph all of that. So I'm not going to use graphing unless I use the calculator. But since I want to do this pencil and paper, I'm going to use the substitution method, okay? So I can leave that. Well, let me move this out the way. All right, so I'm going to take this expression, the 40x, and plug it into the other equation. So I'm going to rewrite the other equation. And again, I'm using the substitution method. Okay. I'm going to rewrite the other equation. Make sure I write it right, y'all. And I'm going to substitute this expression, 40x, in the place of y, okay? So I'm going to replace 40x here. This is 40x. And bring everything else down. Any questions so far about the substitution method? Okay. Now I need to solve for x because x is the only variable that's missing. So I need to move the x's to the same side. So I'm going to move this 20x over here. This is a positive 20x. So to move it, I'm going to subtract 20x. Okay. 40x minus 20x is going to give me a 20x on this side. Bring down my equal sign. This is gone. And I'm left with the positive 160. Okay. Now in order to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 20. Okay. 20, of course, divided by 20 is just going to give me 1. So I have 1x on that side. And then I have 160 divided by 20, which gives me 8. So x is 8. So far, it's 8 movies. Okay. All right. So now to figure out what y is, which equation do you feel like is going to be the easiest to plug in the value for 8? Do you feel like the first or the second equation is going to be the easiest? The second equation. I think so too. I got a yard. I had a yardstick up here. Do you need a yardstick? Yeah, I need one. See. Here's a yardstick right here, Dave. I think if it's yours, I gotta find mine. Yeah, that was mine, but I mean, you know, you can use it. Ew. That's okay, babe. Sorry, y'all. Miss Barletto needed something. Okay. Yes, it is okay to use the graphing method. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, it's another question in the chat. No problem. All right, so let's do number 7. See if you can do number 7 on your own. Just set it up. Don't solve it because I don't want you to do all of that work and then the equation is wrong. So I'm going to pause for the calls to give you a chance to set this up on your own. Okay, so let's see how we did in setting this problem up, okay? All right, it says a farmhouse shelters 10 animals. Some are pigs and some are ducks, okay? Altogether, there are 36 legs. How many of each animal? That's the question. They did not give us a slope or a rate. They did not give us a starting amount or a y-intercept. So we already know that our equations are going to be written in standard form, okay? Because they did not give us that type of information. We didn't get a rate. We did not get a starting amount. So we're going to set it up. And remember, this number here is total. So that means they're going to give us totals, okay? All right, so since this is the question, we got 2 unknowns. The first unknown is going to be the number of pigs, and the second is the number of ducks because it's saying how many of each animal. So I'm going to say pigs first because pigs are talked about first. So X is equal to number of pigs. Okay. Y is going to equal to the number of ducks. Any questions about how I got that logic? I do not remember I'm here for you. If you don't understand, it is perfectly okay. There's nothing to feel bad about. I'm here to help you. So just let me know when you don't understand something, okay? I'm going to keep going, okay? All right. So now we have to write the equation, and we're writing it in standard form. So we need to pick out what our totals are. Well, it tells us the total number of animals right here is 10, okay? So we got equal to 10 animals. And I'm writing what the total is so that I can write the equation. So I'll know how to write my equation. The other total is 36 legs. So again, I'm going to write what the total is. It's 36 legs so that I can write the equation for 36 legs as the total. So let's go back to the first total, which is 10 animals. How would I write an equation that's going to give me the total of 10 animals? How would I write this as an equation? Anybody? Okay, excellent job. It's going to be X, which is the number of pigs, plus Y, which is the number of ducks. Any questions about that? Okay. Now what about 36 legs? Okay, excellent job. You have 4 X, 4 represents the number of legs that are on a pig, plus 2Y, 2 represents the number of legs that a duck has. So this is going to be your equation. Any questions about that? Okay. So now you have to decide what method. Did anybody get this set up correct? Oh, Kaylee said she did. Okay. Couple people. All right. Okay, so let's look at what method do we want to use in order to solve this equation? Okay, I'm going to let you decide this time. What method do you think is going to be best to use in order to solve this equation? All right. All right, great job. So we're going to use elimination. Okay, so we're going to use the elimination method. Which letter would you like to eliminate? Do you want to eliminate the x's or the y's? The x's. Okay, in order to eliminate the x's, these need to be the same. What can I multiply times x that's going to make that a 4x? 4. So I'm going to multiply all of these terms by 4. Okay, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4 to keep it as an equivalent um, equation. So I have 4 times x, which gives me 4x. Then I have 4 times y, which gives me 4y. Then I have 4 times 10, which gives me 40. Okay? And now I'm just going to bring this equation over here. So this second equation is 4x plus 2y equals 36. Okay? So I'm going to use subtraction to eliminate the x's. So I can say 4x minus 4x. That's going to eliminate the x's. Okay? So this is 0. Then I'm going to say 4y minus 2y, and that gives me 2y. Then I'm going to say 40 minus 36, which gives me 4. Any questions about that? Now to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So this gives me y is equal to 2. So that means that there are 2 ducks. Okay? Now how do I figure out how many pigs there are? Which equation do you feel like is the easiest to use? The original first equation or the second equation? The first one. Me too. I think the first is easiest. So we got x plus y is equal to 10, and we're going to plug in 2 for y. So this is x plus 2 is equal to 10. To get x by itself, I have to subtract 2 on both sides, and then that gives me x is equal to 8. So that means that there are 8 pigs. Okay, so again, my point in which they cross is going to be 8, comma 2, where this is x and this is y. X represents number of pigs, and y represents number of ducks. Any questions about how I did that? Okay, I'm going to pause to give you a chance to make sure that you have this all written. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask.